podcast hosts Gabe and Leo discuss topics that directly and indirectly affect the LGBTQ plus community. Their generation gap has them seeing the world through very different points of view. They fight, they argue, they laugh, and they get off topic. But they make sense. Most of the time. Are you ready for this episode of Let's Talk Trans? Well, let's get started. Alrighty, hey, it's Sunday night, and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Trans. I'm your host, Gabriel. I know, sooner or later I will fix that intro again, but I keep hoping that Leo will come back. I do. So, tonight, we're going to talk about LGBTQ youth. We're going to talk about some statistics that are not so friendly. We're going to talk about ways that we can fix the statistics, because I don't like anybody being a statistical probability. And mathematically speaking, I actually kind of like statistics and probability. But before we go there, a couple different things. One, to the teacher on TikTok that plays with the fidget thingies every single time that she talks about any of her stories. If you guys haven't seen her, I'm pretty sure you have. She has all these shorts, and it's always about story time and all these weird things that teachers go through. So, which I can relate to, at least on some level. God, I'd love to talk to her. Public school versus... Anyway. So, she plays with these little fidget things, and I get them, because they're, an easy way to keep the mind active in multiple ways. They help people who are ADD, ADHD, autistic... Sometimes not even just those. Sometimes they just, need a little extra going on to keep their mind busy. I'm one of those people. If I'm doing one thing by myself, then I tend to get really bored and I can't focus. But just from hearing me talk, and how often I actually use the word in a podcast, I'm currently playing with this squishy little dumpling thing that I found at one of the local stores. And it's just a squish. It just happens to look like a Chinese dumpling. Comes in a little plastic container that kind of looks like little bamboo thingies. But you'll notice that I'm not saying quite so much. I'm able to focus. I'm able to focus on my thoughts. I'm able to put my thoughts in an appropriate order at an appropriate speed. Why? Because my mind is doing one thing while my hands are doing something else. That means that my mind is able to multitask on two different things at the same time. And they focus well. But if I were to put that dumpling down, maybe not right away, but I would eventually start to lose focus. So I'm going to play with it for a little bit. But the thing of it was that, I'd seen her playing with these, and I thought that would look really cool, and I'd love to have one. And I went to a store, and the store had an entire row of fidget toys. Not just this little dumpling thingy, but squishy sushi, and kinetic sand toys, and fidget spinners, and the pop-it thingies, and little snakes, and slime, and just everything. I didn't get the slime. It wasn't a good idea. Me and slime. But I got this, and I got the sushi, and I originally got a little hamster thingy, stuffy thingy with some sand in it. Leo stole it. You can't hear him. I don't think you could hear him, but if you did, he just went, mine. And, anyway, so I had to go back and get myself another one. And I took it to work with me, and needless to say, it gets passed around my classroom quite regularly. The cool thing about it is that it helps my students focus. Not so much the younger students or the well-behaved students, but more like the ones who are a little older, because I teach adults. So I have students that are in their 20s. I have students in their 30s, 40s, all the way up into their 70s. And I have a couple of students whose minds are just not as sharp as they used to be. They find it a little harder to stay awake in class. But when giving them one of these little fidget thingies, suddenly they're more engaged. Suddenly, their mind is working and they are paying attention, they're focused, they're participating, they're laughing, they're having a ball in the classroom. Why? Why? Because they're doing two things at once. Their brain is stimulated on multiple levels. And that is all these things are really meant to do. It's just to keep the brain occupied. It's kind of a cool thing. The nice thing about it is, like I said, something like this, which I'm still playing with in my hands. My students, who, again, are older, this helps with their dexterity. It helps with their pinching, grabbing, pinching, hand movements. It also strengthens the muscles in their hands, fingers, and continues to allow fluidity in their knuckles. Why? Why do I know all this if I'm just a teacher? Well, because I wasn't just a teacher. Once upon a time, I was a uneducated, fresh out of high school, aide in a physical therapy room in a nursing home, and yep, I kept all that stuff in my head. So now, when my students do stuff, there's more than one reason behind it. And they may not get it right away, but they thank me about it later. So, thank you to that TikTok teacher, whoever she is. And we're going to keep playing with the squishy donut thingy, my spring roll. The other thing I wanted to bring up today was that this afternoon, not this afternoon, it was yesterday afternoon, at the mall, I met this adorable transgender couple. Both of them were male to female. Male to female. And not that it mattered in any way, shape, or form, but we had this phenomenal conversation and scared off this guy because, I was working in the store, and I'm, 2 jobs. Got to pay for gas nowadays. And I was point blank that this is a LGBTQ plus friendly store, and it doesn't really matter what's under the outfit that I'm going to, sell to anybody and everybody, and that's the way it is. And this guy pretty much put his merchandise back on the wall and left. And I didn't care. Whatever. He didn't want to buy from my store or the store that I was working in because of the fact that it was a supportive store. Then his loss. I mean, he'll probably end up going to our other store in another mall and buying the same thing anyway. But I won't tell him about that. And then if he doesn't, whatever. But yeah, it was cool, and I'm all for it. I'm all for showing my support because, I'm transgender. On the other flip side of that, the podcast a couple of days ago, last week, about the Bible, I got accused of attempting to convert people on that one by a young woman, maybe not so young, a woman. We'll just call her that. She didn't listen to it. She just felt that because I was posting it, that I was attempting to convert people, and wanted to make sure that I knew that the Bible was all about stoning people, and that it had absolutely nothing good in it. Kind of an odd conversation, if you ask me. It really didn't. I mean, she didn't even listen to the podcast. But, whatever. And, no, I'm not from... Yes, Leo.
It wasn't all about stoning. You crucified one guy.
Well, yeah. But the thing was that, she was obsessed with the fact that, I guess she thought that the Bible talked about stoning people of the LGBTQ community. And the thing was that it only talks about stoning a couple of times. And it does only, because, think about it. There wasn't firing squads. Definitely wasn't, gas chambers and lethal injections or anything like that. There really only was a couple ways of doing it.
Crucifixion and drowning.
Yeah. No, not even drownings. Really? Think about it. It was pretty much the desert. Not a whole lot of water. But the thing of it was that, there were certain things that the powers that be felt were unclean. Like pigs, yeah. Like working on what they call the Sabbath, or the holy day, which is Sunday. And people like that could be stoned. And so it was really, and that was kind of my argument was, we don't do those things anymore because we get it, that's not the right thing to do. But she didn't, like I said, she didn't really want to hear any of that. She just kind of wanted to say her side of it, and then, got mad at me when I didn't get offended, I guess, or I don't know what she expected, but whatever. But needless to say, it started a whole big thing between the Facebook group moderator and I, and he was actually really nice about it. So, and then we talked and we agreed that, any future major biblical stuff or major, political stuff, I would put trigger warning on my podcast for them for. Because that way nobody gets butthurt. But
some people do have religious traumas.
I understand that, but this was my first trans Karen. That's exactly what that was. It was a trans Karen. I mean, I truly get that people have religious trauma. And we even talked about this in my gaming group. Because that was my argument, was that she probably, somebody probably did not support her coming out, and they used religion as their reasoning.
I'm going to step over here so that the mic can hear me better.
Okay. I'll move it. How about if I move it a little bit?
Alright, I don't plan on staying.
Sure.
But we know how these
conversations go. But the thing of it was, and I said that. I said, she probably had somebody who didn't support her, and it really hurt her feeling. And, that the person probably used the Bible or religious backing as their reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been just one person. It might have been a whole family. It might have been a whole community. It might have even been our own church.
Yeah, I've met people who have used the Bible to be homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
In response, I used the Bible to be sexist towards them. As a joke.
Well, here's the thing. And I agree completely. The Bible is very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very flip-flop.
It is.
In one book, they talk about an entire town, Sodom and Gomorrah, burning to the ground over sodomy. In the next book, it says, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yep.
So,
do you want us to love people or hate people?
Right? Do you want us to hate people because of... And the thing of it is that in Sodom and Gomorrah, nobody was said to hate anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it wasn't about that. It was the fact that people were breaking God's law.
Mm.
But here's the thing. And like I said, we go back into... I put my thingy... I forgot. I lost my train of thought. Love thy neighbor as yourself.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry, come on, little dumping. Help me focus. We go back to, like I said, love thy neighbor as thyself, and we understand that we all make mistakes, and that we're not perfect, and that nobody is, and yeah, we judge ourselves all the time, because we're our own worst critics, but in the end of the day, we're still supposed to love ourselves, and if we're supposed to love ourselves, then we have to love our neighbors too.
Mm-hmm. But in the same breath, I don't love our neighbors like I love myself.
But you're supposed to.
I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
My neighbors have loud and annoying grandchildren.
We have a lot of annoying dogs.
Our dogs are loud and annoying because of our neighbors' grandchildren.
True enough.
All right. And our neighbors' other dogs.
And the neighbors' other dogs, too. The dog with the purple tail.
Pink. You're colorblind.
I know.
Are you?
I'm not.
How do you know?
I've taken the tests.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Your dog's not happy.
My dog was like, don't gaslight, Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't try and gaslight,
okay.
Dad.
So, enough of that topic, because I didn't want to go into that. I definitely don't need to put, like, hey,
well, now you need a trigger warning.
I know, and now I need a trigger warning and butthurt Karen and all that, yeah.
I'll leave.
Butthurt. I like the term butthurt. Butthurt and trans Karen. Those are going to be my new favorite terms. So, like I said, what I wanted to talk about tonight was helping the LGBTQ youth. On a lot of podcasts, we talk about transgender issues and we talk about what's affecting us all. But I don't think I've ever actually focused on the youth, the kids. And so, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. As far as the kids go, and like I said, I use the TrevorProject.org, and if you haven't ever heard of Trevor Project is an advocate, help, resource type thing. A really, really good website. Lots of good data on it. I wholeheartedly recommend anybody who's